But anyways, since you are from the wild, wonderful West Virginia, we want to talk about Chris Chan for a second. Brief summary. This person, I'm going to try to adhere to they, them pronouns. Um, they had a long
I'll
history.
try to
Yeah,
adhere to probably their pronouns the best I can. I mean, no disrespect to all parties present.
right.
So
But
I'm familiar with a little bit of it, and
from what most people don't know, it's what somebody calls a locale, somebody who has a big bit of history on the internet, and we're talking like early history, from them as a child being on TV, winning like several $1,000s at KB Toys to get tons of Sega products, to as an adult with their love quest, trying to find a boyfriend free girlfriend. Then, yes, say that 3 or 4 times fast. But the trolls kind of latched onto that. And this is somebody who basically is neurodivergent. I
uh,
believe they have autism and suffer from
yeah,
Asperger's.
I don't. From what I've seen, um, some of the places, at least what I dived into a little bit. Now, again, as I was telling Sasha at the start, when she wanted to talk about this, I went down a little bit into the rabbit hole. I didn't want to go too deep.
Stuck a toe in.
Just a toe in. Um, one of the websites or YouTube channels I went into, um, it was like I thought it was just going to be like a 2 or 3 part, docu. No, it turns out when I was doing the sum up with a more trusted YouTuber, to find out that they referred to this channel and it was a 50 some odd part docu.
Yes,
It was like,
it's
and each
huge.
one's like 40 minutes, 20 to 40,
Yep.
25 to 40 minutes
And this
long. I'm
person
like, oh
is the
my God.
most well recorded person on the internet at the moment. So if the world were to end and aliens were to check us out, this is somebody that has been annotated to death. But
And let
trolls,
me just say this. When I first saw the first part of that series, I only made it up to like chapter, or I should say video 3, but I got this before even the person said this person sounds, because they had Kurt lips, like this person I think might be autistic,
yes.
and it,
Yep, you're kind of crackling, bud. You're cutting in and out. Uh-oh, might have lost you. Well, until you can get that resolved, I'll go ahead and add in my 10 cents. But basically, those who don't know the history, this person basically was subjected to trolls. These trolls would set them up on false dates, um, make fun of them without them being aware that they were made fun of, and got them to do some pretty nasty and questionable things. Again, I'm not excusing their actions because of their mental health issues, but I'm not excusing the trolls' actions either, because neither is a good situation. Um, and it's just ugly in and of itself. It depths into like taking advantage of the elderly, incest because this person did things with their mentally incompetent mother. That's not cool. And then, of course, everything that kind of led up to that, and they were in jail for a period of time, but now they're out. Let me pop over to Chris and see if he's back. And if he is, I'll bring him back in. Give me a second here. But anyway, while we're discussing it, though that person did go to jail, and they've been in jail for the last couple months now. Um, it's been almost a year or two, I want to say. And yeah, I'm going to cut it here and do a bathroom break myself. So we'll be back in just a second. Sorry to the OnlyFans audience. Anybody else? You guys will get to see the full thing edited once me and Chris play with it. Be right back. I'll let it run. now. All right. So
Okay.
for those coming
Sorry
back,
about that. Technical difficulties on my end. We got it fixed, at least somewhat. Hopefully, sound is good and everything else.
right.
If
So
not,
I
once
just
Sasha sends me the audio, I can adjust things in post.
okay. But I went ahead and gave a brief summary. Basically what happened. They were in jail. I want to say they were in jail for about a year or two for, you know, doing what they did with their parent and
Until, as I'm sure Sasha could agree, until uh, this particular person goes to trial, everything is alleged
right.
until proven guilty.
But right now they are out of jail. I want to say they were in there for at least a year or two, if not longer. Um, but yeah, and a lot of that was influenced by trolls. But I'm not excusing Chris's actions. I'm not excusing the trolls' actions. I think both should be setting in some sort of penalty box until it goes before a court of law because the trolls are just as complicit for taking somebody who has a mental health issue and exacerbating it to the point that it's been. And Chris is an excuse because clearly their own parent is getting to that point where I don't know if I want to use the word senility, but it's the first one that comes to mind where they're getting to the age based on some of the video content that yeah, they're not making rational decisions themselves,
Right.
and Chris should have
As
never
stated,
victimized them.
as Mudahar mentioned, for those who are not familiar with the name, he's the person behind the YouTube channel, Some Ordinary Gamers. He does a lot of, he goes into a lot of in-depth stuff in regards to controversies or scams that might be on
The,
through YouTube.
the thing
And
I think that helps the best,
he said
a shorter version.
he,
That gamer from Mars actually does a shorter
right,
summary. It's like 3 episodes.
right, but he said regards to, I know that I've seen some stuff, not videos, but titles on Facebook that he escaped. Sorry, misgendered. Sorry, she escaped, but Muda said that this particular person was bailed out because evidence said that this person was bailed out, and he, like I said, Muda was very fair. He's respectful. He's like not judging, but even um, this person's parents might be, if not suffering from dementia
Mm-hmm.
or
That's the
something
word I was
similar
looking
to
for.
it. But since I think even he put up a disclaimer or said disclaimer that he's not exactly sure if that's what this person's suffering from, but it depending on what, either way, whether this person's parent is suffering from dementia or not, it still may be considered elder abuse.
And the reason why I'm going with like they them, just to kind of clarify to the audience, I know that they came out trans later on, but I think a lot of that was exacerbated by the trolls as like, well, hey, a lot of people like feminine people now, so maybe you'd have better luck picking up women that way. And quite the opposite effect had happened with Chris. Um, but until they are at a state where they're more mentally healthy and come forward with how they choose to identify with a despite being autistic of course but with a clearer perspective, hopefully medicated, and if they ever do get internet access again, if they come forward, they will clear that up because it's never been 100% clear one way or the other. So that's why I'm sticking with they, them. Chris is going off the last pronouns, plus sometimes they, them, or that person. And it's just out of respect until that person of a clear mind can say, this is who I am. That's how I prefer
Yeah,
to address it. And there's a
uh,
lot of stuff
I
here that's a mess, but the big topic is they're out of jail. They have been out of jail for about 2 weeks. But I think the condition of this bail, at least as well as I can delve into politics of West Virginia and based on the scenario that had happened, even then it doesn't carry a very long term. It can be as long as a year to are as short as a year to as long as 10 years. But based around the circumstantial situation and the person's mental health and the parent's mental health, um, I honestly think that they're not really bailed out and free to roam West Virginia doing whatever horrible crap.
Right.
I think why it's so quiet is that they're in a halfway home, or they're with somebody who's basically like, hey, here are the conditions of this bail and this release. You can't have internet access. You need to go through this and this and this and this. And if you don't, you're going to wind up back in jail. And I think that's what
That's
I
true.
understand.
I said, Sasha knows that I am, for the most part, when it comes to someone in this particular, I won't say mindset, but as stated prior to me having technical issues, real quick, um, I told Sasha that picked up right away that this person was autistic. But unless, if I see a person that is similar to, or similar, I would say, of sound mind, if you will.
Yes.
And I get it from that particular person, meaning if I saw someone like Sasha at a bar, I might say, you know, uh, I might accidentally misgender. It's like, if I am misgendering, please excuse me. If you come off, I mean, if the person's coming off as feminine, I might automatically jump to she, her, and I apologize. If that's not your preferred pronouns, I apologize. Until they tell me it's they, them, she, her, or what have you. But I'm sure there's a few cases that in the past where I don't remember the particular YouTuber. So if I, again, Sasha, because you're the advocate, please forgive me. They kind of bounced back between, because they were female to male transgender. They went from she, her to he, him, back to she, her, back to he. It was just like to the point. It seemed like, if depending on what part of that YouTuber's history, it kind
They
of
might have just been
adjusted.
gender fluid, which
They would no, they identified. They didn't identify as gender fluid. They identified as trans, and it was
right.
kind of like,
But that's part of the umbrella.
it was confusing. So it's like, you know what? Until they solidify
exactly
what side of the fence of they want to be on, I'm going to go with she, her. But for the most part, if they're gender fluid, if they are legitimately, if they're pan, is the word I was looking for. If they're pansexual, or they're gender fluid, or they're legitimately trans, and they say, I want to be referred to they, them, or so, along those lines, I'll
That's
pick
why I
on
always
maybe.
tell people, when it comes down to it, ask. And in this situation,
Yeah.
we can't really ask for an update, because
Right.
honestly, I think it's the court is obviously got to be smart and look at all the history that's out there and be like, look, a lot of this, and again, I'm not excusing either party,
Right.
but there's a good bit of it that's because of the trolls and the influence with the online community, but a lot of it has to do with Chris and their own mindset as well as, but it's no
Yeah.
excuse. Horrible
In
shit
one
happens.
video, I said, some of the things I picked up on in regards to his history and what I've seen briefly. Um, he has a lot more. Once they get treatment in regards to their situation and everything else, they're going to need a lot more than just
Right.
meds in regards to treatment, because from what I have heard, and again, alleged, um, some of the funds that he got in, because some of the videos that he put out was kind of begging for money and begging
Yes.
for donations to get food, money for food, that he didn't have the best budgetary aspects.
And that's why I think it's
Meaning
a
where,
group home situation.
whereas you and I might say, "Hey, I got to have an extra $200." like with me, I got had extra funds, and whether you, Sasha, are a fan of David Kerr or not, I don't know, but I funded two of his. Um, I backed his latest project twice because I'm, you know, hey, I like what he does. He's an on. I know for a fact he's going to put out the stuff and everything else, and the cash that he has right now for this project, I want a few autographs from him. So I had the money. I'm going to back it twice.
Right. It's kind of like
And
my situation. Like I just recently did a ton of overtime. That's why, again, like release on this type of stuff has been kind of shaky. So I apologize in advance. But overtime, health issues, etc. But since I've had a little bit of extra funds, one of my friends I had seen is trying to get down to Georgia, who lives up in my neck of the woods of Pennsylvania. And that's a bit of a trip. And this is somebody who has health issues, can't drive. So they're going to have to go down to Georgia to see their kids' graduation. And so they have a little bit of a fund and they're not asking for a heck of a lot. I dropped what I could. It was like, hey, here's
right,
$20, you know. And I know they're going to use it because I've talked to them about their child because they're, gender fluid as well. That falls underneath the trans, umbrella because like trans is inclusive with non-binary, gender fluid, AMAB and AFAB. AMAB assigned male at birth, but now identifies as female. AFAB assigned female at birth, but identifies as male. But their child is getting ready to graduate high school. Big deal. They want to be down there and be a part of it. And I'm like, groovy. That's a cause that I don't feel bad dropping money to.
right.
But like,
That's how you. But
Chris,
oh no, you and I both have the aspect of bills come first.
mhm.
Bills, food, and once that's taken care of, if you're broke, you're broke. It's a good broke, and yeah, I might complain about being broke and poor, but it's it is what it is, and I know next week there's going to be about $75 of my money that's going to go out to a new game. I'll
Mhm.
have it, but bills are coming first, and I'm going to try set $50 aside or 60, a little more. But if I'm not going to have that much to spend at Four State, I'm not going to have that much to spend. I'm just going to go hang out with a bunch of folks that I know and have
Exactly.
fun and meeting up with the Khan family because whether Sasha agrees with some of those folks or not,
No, no, I
it's
still,
family. It gets me. It
it's still
gets me out of
family.
the house. Gets me out of the house. Gets me see a bunch of the folks that I haven't seen in a year. You know, one of the folks that I'm sure he's going to be there, George. Uh, you
Yeah,
know,
George was bugging me to
George.
go, and I'm like, I'm saving up my money for Blobfest. I might go to the fall one after my Blobfest adventure, and he's like, but yeah, you could help me with the table, or I'm like, I get it, but like right now it's April next month or this month now,
Right.
and I'm like,
Like,
I can't just take
like
a weekend off,
I know, I know George would say, like, if you're going, it's like you can stay with me, and I know that, but it's like, yeah, right now it's too late to put in for it. Let me get my hours. Just let
And
me get,
and maybe
but
this is the
I'll,
new Sasha speaking, but I want to clarify here. I have no ill will towards anybody there. In fact, I see us as all family, even people who may disagree with me or I might disagree with them. Family fights. That's how family is.
yeah,
If you don't fight, and you're gonna have petty rivalries, and those will go away. And the real people are the ones who are there no matter what. Like there's certain people we could list off right now that will come to me and say, "Hey, I made a mistake." And there's a few people I'd like to go up to, go like, "Hey, I made a mistake. Let's clear the air and just be cool and get back to square one." I would love to do that. Um, but again, it's family, and you're gonna run into with that. And it's like recently, one of the effects artists that both you and I know is like, well, there's a ton of people going to be there that I have issues with. I'm like, go there and do the work. There's people there who want to see
yeah,
you, irregardless. Go there, do the job, do the work. You can be there for them as family, friends, and fun for those people that are cool. And screw the other guy. I said, because a hater is just a confused fan, you know? they're going to run their mouth about you regardless of if you're there or not. I said, but trust me, they're going to run their mouth even more if you're not there. I said, so
I
go
know.
do the work, be professional, but have fun with those that you know.
David Kerr said, uh, I need somebody who might be able to do a bear trap. And it's like, does anybody know any special effects artists? Same person. We're not mentioning names. Same person is like, that's the first name that came up. Like, tagged him in the post. Like, yeah, see this person. Uh,
But that's the
you
thing.
might
If
work
we've got
out.
the
It's
cash or
just
we
that,
have a friend that's helping, we'll do it. But if I've got a medical bill or
like,
something, that's going to come first.
yeah, it's like if it's a bill, I'm gonna have, you know, I'm gonna have a ride up there because front, my best bud's girl wants to go up because she's a big fan of Ken Hunt. And I
Hmm.
was like, I might not be able to do Saturday as much as I want to do Saturday. Sunday, I'm free and clear all damn day. Uh, I'll pay your way in. I'll pay for gas. Let me pay, whatever you need help getting there. Let me do it. You know,
And you know Ken,
I'll
so
pay
it's not
you.
hard.
Right. It's not expensive. And I'm, because I like the folks at Four State, it's like, hey, I see you're a Dragon Ball Z fan. They have a Dragon Ball Z guest this year. Come on down. Here's the information.
Right.
Just
Like
just little
someone
stuff.
like Chris, they'll get funds for supposedly other things and use them
Right.
they really shouldn't. And
Right.
that comes down to my theory of them probably being a group home because I don't think yes, West Virginia's backwards. No offense, Chris, of course.
No, that's part of my jokes and with what I do in regards to my job. So I
but
use those jokes.
but the thing of it is they have seen on stand if you really dip into the pool and read into the court documents that this person's not mentally well and shouldn't be out on their own. So I guarantee that they're in a group home that's monitoring their finances as well as their internet access, hopefully lack thereof, because the trolls are just sitting there waiting, chomping with a bit to see what's going to happen next. And it kind of brings me into the other topic. There's a lot of lolcows out there where shit has gone bad. I think the interesting one, I can't think of his name at the moment, but he was out of Germany. And, like, the trolls got a hold of some nasty stuff. The guy had his own house and his own property. He literally built a gate to keep the trolls out, but they would throw stuff, break his windows. He'd come out there and fight them, and like the dude could handle it and take it on his own. But it got to the point where the town wanted to be a small, tourist, quiet town, but because of the hubbub that this guy, I think he had something like the name like the Red Dragon or something of that nature. Um, but yeah, it got so ugly that they had to force him to move away, and his house got demolished just so the trolls would stop coming and disturbing this peaceful German town. I'll send you a link about it later if you want to add it to anything that we do. Um, but yeah, it's like the trolls are taking us too far. It's one thing to goof like with Cyrax, the guy taking it to Airbnb just to see if Cyrax
Right.
would confront him, and then Cyrax did and got his ass handed to him, but the guy didn't go over there torturing him. The guy just went to Airbnb across the street, and Cyrax is the one who walked up. And the old saying, that just step up. That's what happened. Or
Yeah.
when they told him, hey, here's a cool way to jailbreak your Xbox. Here's a USB thing you can plug into your Xbox and it'll jailbreak it. Oh, it broke it. It didn't jailbreak it. It just completely bricked the system. And to me, it's like, that's a little bit more malicious, but again, nobody's getting hurt other than that person. And of course,
Right.
have at least the common sense that you're not going to get a jail bricked system where you can actually put anything and everything you want on it easily. And if
But the
somebody
thing is, a lot of these YouTubers, if they have even the ones you say are local, the ones that might have funds, or let's say 100,000, maybe 200,000 subscribers, even the ones that might have a little bit less at maybe at 50, 60, they could go out to a pawn shop, get let's say new to them Xbox Series, whatever, or an old school Xbox One, and we and claim it as a business expense
Yeah,
because they just picked it up, and therefore they're not trying to jailbreak their Xbox. They're just doing one that they could toss away or really.
exactly. But there comes a point where when the trolls get a little too malicious, like again, going back to the whole Chris Chan thing, like literally having people meet him for dates and then have somebody swoop in and steal that date away just to make him look like an ass when you know this person has a mental health condition, already has
Right.
issues as is, you're just exacerbating the problem. A joke's a joke, but there comes a point where I'm laughing with you versus I'm laughing at you.
At you.
Yes. Like me and Chris, we can joke around like the Xbox video we had up where I had to unpackage the Xbox that you got for me. And that's funny because it's a laughing with scenario, not laughing at, you know?
And with that, I told you, it's like, listen, this is something. It's like, don't take this personally, it's because this is something I do with
Everybody.
my
Yeah.
everybody. It's like I have friends I've done this to. It's like,
But it wasn't
don't think it's
hurting
like,
anyone.
no.
It
It's like,
wasn't
I'm going to do it to you.
malicious. It was fun.
It's like, I'm going to do it to you. It's like, I think at that time, and I told you, it's like, I'm doing this to you. It's not because you are who you are. Don't take it like,
No, we're
even though you
friends.
wouldn't. It's
Yeah,
like,
we're
I do
family.
this, it's like, I do this with my normal friends. It's like,
Mhm.
I'm just being a troll to you because it's fun. It's interesting. It's just me being a pain in the ass.
And
And
it's not being malicious. It's not purposely setting this person up where they could harm themselves or others. Um,
right,
it's you know jokes and pranks and stuff are great, but there's got to be some payoff where you're not being laughed at, that everybody's laughing at the whole scenario in and of itself, even the quote unquote victim. But most of this locale stuff, it's gone too far. Like the guy in Germany
right.
I just mentioned, where you're throwing stuff at his house. Now there are some
Let's use the whole aspect of the unpacking the Xbox. You're laughing. You could be laughing at the scenario because it's a funny scenario. It's
Mhm.
yes, it could be a prank, but as you said, no one's getting hurt over it. It's just going to take about 45 minutes for you to untake it.
Exactly.
But for the most part, and no one's hurt, and at most something like that, if I did it to, whether it be you or another friend or somebody like that, somebody I know, you might walk away calling me a fucker, pardon the vulgarity, but no one's hurt. You're getting an Xbox out of this. Shut up.
Deal with it. Right.
But deal with it. It's like I'm just being a pain in the ass,
But when you're
and it's
dealing
part
with
of the contract.
somebody who already has challenges, and it's not like one of those situations where it's clearly explained to the person that, hey, this is a joke, it ceases to be a prank and becomes something malicious. You know what I mean? And that's where I kind of have problems with everything that's gone on with Chris, because it ceased to be, a joke. Now, don't get me wrong, there's locals out there who own it, like Cobra JFS or King Cobra. He's hilarious. Cyrax, to a degree, I think is finally catching on that there's a lot of people out here trolling me for shits and giggles. And they go with it now, but there's some stuff that just seems malicious. And like I
I
said,
know.
that happened with Chris Chan is
Now
just
that
ridiculous.
we're talking about it, you're talking about locals and OG folks that kind of roll with it. Uh, it just brought up the memory. There's a YouTuber. I don't know if they still are making videos, but I know going on close to uh, maybe 15 years ago, back like 2008, 2009. Um, One of my buddies was showing me it was a pair of brothers, an older brother and his younger brother. The younger brother was had Down syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and they always did videos, and it always seemed like uh, they kept getting comments of like, "Oh, you're picking on your brother because he got Downs. How dare you?" It's like, he's my brother. The only person that's going to be picking on, I'll never do anything that's going to hurt him. He's having a good time because he's my brother. I'd rather be doing stuff with him in under a controlled scenario that if the only person that's going to be part of this is me. If anybody came up and did this, what we do, they're getting get their ass kicked by me because I love my brother. I'm doing a lot of this for him, and it was like you could tell it wasn't like nowadays with the apology, so-called apology videos that it that comes off completely fake. He was like, no, you could tell this is my brother. I love my brother. I will not do anything that complete. If there's something that he did not want to do, I would not pressure it. It was completely honest and straightforward, and you could tell there was a lot of love because he's like, I love my brother. Yeah, I know he's got Down syndrome. I'm
Right.
doing this for him. And so if whatever money when this is again the early days of YouTube where people you had to be actually not nowadays you need X number of subscribers and you need X number of
And you
views
don't even
to
need
get
that because, like, someone like Chris Chan didn't get the views until later on, until the trolls became vicious. Same thing with King Cobra. Same thing with Cyrax. Um, and there's a difference between a prank and something of that nature. Now, like, there's some things that you and I, because we have the mental capabilities to go, this seems too good to be true, or this is full of crap, or we can identify the trolls pretty early on.
right.
Um, like somebody thought they could try to turn me into a locale once, and I just shut it down and blocked them because I'm like, you know what? I'm not playing that game because I don't do that. I know what a block button is. I know who's willfully being ignorant and those who are actually trying to learn. You can tell the difference, and as a result, I've got no problems with ban hammers and blocks. And you're always going to have haters no matter what. Like, I'm with the philosophy, let the hater talk, because a hater is just a confused fan. But some of these trolls, especially if you start looking at other locales, and I implore you, check out the dude from Germany. Like, they got vicious. Dude lost his house, got forced to move out of his home because of the public disturbance, because he was beating the crap of anybody who'd show up, which is hilarious because, again, punks step up to get beat down. But they were damaging his property. They were making a huge scene, and it was supposed to be like this quiet little German town. But because of this one person, even though they lived on the
Right.
outskirts, it was drawing the wrong kind of crowd, and they got forced out. Now, do I see something like that happening in the U.S.? Possibly, but probably not to the extreme extent. They probably hold some of these trolls accountable, but there's trolls worldwide now. Like, they have different
Yeah.
laws and different rules, and outside of them doing something severe enough where they would have to get deported to us for conviction, I don't foresee that happening. But to a degree, I see what.
If it's something overseas, let's take the whole aspect of swatting.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I think I've warned you about in the past. It's just the aspect of it. A lot of states have this swatting um, laws that if you kind of let loose somebody's information in regards to where they live and somebody else decides to, you know what, I want to swat this person using that information. And that person that gets swatted gets harmed. The person that let loose the information also gets tied into that as in some depending on the state. I'm not a lawyer, don't play one on TV, but some of the reports I've heard that if you let loose somebody lives at 123 West Street in any town US, any state USA, somebody takes that information, swats that person gets hurt,
Right.
and they go after that person and they say, oh, I got it from that information from so and so. So and so also gets pulled into it because
And
it's
that's
a
what makes
it's
this whole situation a gray area, especially with the whole
right.
thing, because the trolls exacerbated it until it got to this point. In fact, there's one in specific that caused the incriminating incident to happen, um, where it's blatant. It's what they were trying to build towards to make happen, and it happened. And it would be like, um like that situation with that girl that had that boyfriend that convinced him to kill himself, and she wound up in jail.
Yeah,
And to me, it's like
and the
this
thing
should be
is,
no different.
regards to some of the alleged evidence, I'll word it like that, because phone calls were released,
Yep.
and again, to kind of fault to Mudahar in regards to this, he said the calls, because you're talking about trolls, the calls could be faked in
But
regards
that's the
to
thing.
AI and deepfake. He said even I tried it, but I was only going with a limited sample, and it that's why it sounded rough. But with Chris Chan, there is a wider sample, therefore using this as a basis. So therefore, there's a minimal chance it can be faked. He said, "I'm not saying it's faked, but there's a possibility. There's much of a possibility of it being faked as it being real.
But
And until things are
this is where it
gone
gets
through,
weird
analyzed,
with this case, because one of the people who led to the inciting incident um basically came forward online and admitted it was them. Everything was traceable back to them. And granted, that person's kind of disappeared from the internet because, there are trolls, but then there are those who go after the trolls who go too far. And that's why that
right,
person's disappeared from the internet. But I've not seen or heard anything about them getting criminal charges because, in my opinion, they're just as complicit as Chris. Just
right,
as I'm not saying, I'm going to be judge, jury, and executioner here, but I'm saying when it comes down to whatever penalties Chris is receiving, that person should get the same severity because you're not dealing with somebody of sound mind to begin with. Because, like you and me, somebody tells us to go jump off the bridge, we're going to be like, no. But somebody like Chris might do it, and that's where
or
the difference
somebody
comes into
not just
play.
like with the men- uh, mentality of him, but if you have one person crazy enough that is of sound mind, it's like, hey, this is going to be great content. Let me just jump off a cliff. But whereas someone like Chris Chan might just do it, someone of sound mind, but crazy, like, all right, you want me to jump off a cliff? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring a parachute with me, or I'm going to bring a hang glider. I'm jumping off, I'm
Right.
doing it. Say, I'm going to be crazy. I'm going to record it for content, but I'm going to do it as safely as possible.
Right. But this is
Or,
this is somebody who's not, and they know it.
right,
And to me, it's like I get it. It's all for the lulz, hence the phrase lolcow. But there comes a point where there should be some sort of criminal action towards both parties. And I haven't heard too much from the other party. I'm curious how that plays out. But right now, it's like everybody's on the internet waiting with bated breath. And personally, I hope we don't see Chris Chan again on the internet. I hope we don't hear anything more about it aside from the useless speculation that's out there. I hope that this is the end once they get into, I'm guessing they're in a group home. That would be my theory, where there's no internet access and they have conditions with this parole or bail that, hey, you screw up, you're going back, and there's not going to be any forgiveness and you're going to get kicked out of this house and wind up homeless and back in the system again. And hopefully it's one of these cases where if we don't hear anything, that's the best outcome in this scenario.
right. That the person is getting the help that they need. And the thing is, what I'm not going to go into it. This is something that we could discuss either when I see you next, but I'll just say it like this. I won't say it on the show either way. But when I was looking into the whole situation and
So what?
hearing how the early days of Chris Chan is when I realized, like, wait a minute, this person might be autistic, and but my first thought was like, I've seen all this before,
Right.
and it's like I've seen all, not just the locale aspect, but I've seen this situation before with someone who's autistic, trying to gun for a relationship, getting into a relationship, and getting things screwed up mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you understand because I told you what happened when we last met outside. You were here in Dirtyburg.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to it, there's a lot. It was like a lot of similarities. Like I was like, shit, I've seen this before. I've seen this. What's this guy's name again? What does this guy look like now? X, Y, and Z. I had to kind of do a little bit of side digging, like because there were so many similarities in the first two of three videos that I was looking at. I was like, shit, man. I've seen this before. I've seen it before. I've seen it before. I've heard it before. And I was like, this is not ending badly. That's when I saw Muda's videos in regards to what's going on. His video about the him getting Chris Chan getting bailed out. His video a year earlier in regards to the controversy that just started and him getting arrested. I was like, dude, man,
And
it's
this
like
is the
this
thing
is
that I think is interesting because his past is so well recorded, and you can see the change from when the trolls got involved and how progressively it got worse. And I'm surprised that nobody stepped in sooner. I mean, there was incidents where others had stepped in, but after their parent had passed, after the father had passed, and then their mother started to get one that, declined toward dementia. And they already had pre-existing problems because you could tell that, Chris's mother was definitely a hoarder because that place was just packed. It was never in a good state of affairs. But the thing of it is that people were watching this and interacting with it, and I wasn't one that followed it from the beginning until it like hit my
right.
radar. The only way it hit my radar is I had a troll because I did run a deviant art account for a while, and somebody had left a comment, and I want to say it was like a year or two ago, and referred to me and like Chris Chan, and I'm just like, I don't know who this person is, but this sounds pretty far fetched. But me being me, I went down the rabbit hole and I was like, wow. And I'm like, why didn't anybody do anything about this sooner? Because we have seen internet activism in the positivity. Like there's
Yes.
been people who have helped solve cold case crimes. Like that person who tortured a cat, they were able to figure out who that person was and where they were located and got local law enforcement involved. But in this case, it's like this went on for years. We're talking about early days of the internet on up. I mean, this person is in their 40s now. Chris is in their 40s.
Right.
But the thing of it is that they were early adopters to the internet. Like we're talking like early 2000s. You can go back and find stuff on them, dating far, far, far into the depths of history. Like they were the first Let's Player, technically, because they did a lot of Animal Crossing content. They were like the first brony, an adult male at the time, person who was part of the My Little Pony fandom. They were a lot of firsts for the internet. And for somebody to have that much history and that much to be recorded online and nobody's stopping in to say, yeah, this person clearly has an issue and you guys are pushing them too far, and that our social justice warriors, and I say it in a positive way, didn't step up and try to intervene, blows my mind. I mean, I guess to some degree, when it comes to lolcows, people just, oh, well, that's just for comedy, and they just click off and they're not paying attention. But in recompense, maybe we should start paying attention. And when we start to see this hateful
Yeah.
vitriol, more people need to step in.
That's the thing. It's like there's a lot of instances that are on YouTube even today. Um, there are folks that keep pushing issues. I know there's one person that he does. I think the term is called mukbanging.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or they eat
for those
weird
that
food and stuff. Yeah.
or a crap ton of food,
Hmm.
and just that he tends to do a lot of that. He gained way too much weight, and his audience just keeps pushing him and pushing him to do it. Yet it's hurting his health, and he just keeps on doing it and doing it. And everybody's like, "You gotta stop! You gotta stop!" But he keeps doing it because his audience keeps pushing him to do it, and it's just sad. You know what's going to happen? Eventually, he's going to get a heart attack and health issues. It's
Exactly.
like it's like no, don't.
And it just trips me out because like we are a global community. We're more connected than we've ever been. And there were tons of eyes on this, and nobody once stopped to say, hey, what's going on? Like recently, there was this guy who was online. He was part of one of those like motorhead like websites. He was getting ready to
Right.
sell some sort of like really expensive compressor. And then the story got out why the guy was selling the compressor, because he needed money for a kidney transplant and everything else because his health was on the decline. And there was a bunch of trolls who saw this because they would use that forum to troll people. But when they saw this, they started a GoFundMe. They helped this guy out. They made sure he got everything that he needed. They, some of them even went to go get their blood checked to see if they'd be a compatible donor to give to the guy. And it's like, okay, we do have good trolls out there. Given this, and we're talking like at least 20 years of history on the internet, and nobody once said, okay, there's a problem here and something needs done.
See,
Yes,
that's the thing. That's the sad thing about a lot of the internet. Sometimes you see it in regards to, with a lot of the trolls. Yeah, the internet can be the aspect of, yeah, as much as we don't like this person, we got to help them out. Or, but uh, for everything positive, there's going to be the complete opposite. 4chan is the best example. 4chan and Reddit are, I should say, the two best examples. 4chan is mostly trolls. They'll start shit just to see if they'll start shit. In regards to everything, they have the biggest history for that, and just to see if the media will pick up on it.
right.
Like, and when the media does do it, it's like everybody's like, no, no. It's like you do realize this started from 4chan. 4chan, for every cold case that they solve and try to pick up and people that they help, they'll do something like this to prove a point that you fell for it because you didn't look into it. And like they started the whole Momo challenge a couple of years ago, and people were like, no, it's a real thing. It's no, it started with 4chan. Here's all the evidence that is 4chan. No, you're not. You don't know what you're talking about. Uh, you who gave you the information that I'm quote unquote lying? Oh, insert ABC News, CNN, or Fox News. Like you or somebody's going by an agency that's for the most part feeding you bullshit, and you're regurgitating bullshit. That whole aspect, and it's like what I saw this past election season is like I kept hearing in the voting lines like, yeah, they're putting kitty litter in schools and all that fun jazz. I'm like, you actually believe that bullshit?
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it's because people want to be dressed up and identify as cats. I'm like, you do realize? Tell me you listen to some idiot on Fox News without telling me you listen to somebody on Fox News, and you don't work a blue collar job, and you'll never work a blue collar job in your damn life.
Exactly.
And they're like, why? And you said one out of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of schools in this country, maybe 5 schools have somebody that has somebody that identifies as a cat and wants a litter box. But in every school scenario,
Right.
every warehouse, every factory, they have kitty litter in it for one reason and one reason only: spills,
Yes.
oil spills. helps clump things up. That's why it's there. No, it's not. It's because of the cats. Then there's no talking to you. Shut the hell up. Whereas you and I could have that conversation, and I could realize, hey, I work blue collar jobs. I'm speaking to me. It's like, what the hell you got kitty litter for? See that oil spill? Yeah, it's going to help suck up all that oil,
Yep.
all that
Being
grease.
being a sanitation engineer, I can tell you quite honestly, kitty litter is very useful. So is
Yeah.
pine shavings.
So we know. We know. Granted, since your ear or your fingers are closer to the pulse to the um, uh, rainbow community, if you will, and I say that
I mostly stick towards the trans spectrum because there's a lot of weird stuff at the moment.
yeah,
So
but
I've always been a
um,
rogue agent.
but I say it with lovingly and respect. And it's like your thumb is closer to that pulse than mine is. So it's where I don't know. It's like, Sasha, do you know this? And you're like, and
I'll educate you where
I'll
I
get
can. Where I can't, we'll
where
learn
you
about it
can. It's
together.
like, and so it's one of those things. Like, if I don't know, I'm going to ask. It's like, um,
And that's the most important thing in the world. Ask. A lot of
yeah,
people are afraid to ask questions. Like, for example, the whole pronoun situation. I have a tendency anymore to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Sasha. My pronouns are she and her. Uh, who are you and what's yours? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's
uh, uh,
polite conversation.
a great example for me for that is that when I did Otakon back in 2021, for the first time all 3 days, I snagged a photo of somebody who, if I ever go back, I want to talk to somebody in a suit. I know George might hinted at it, or you hinted that George might be part of the community, or we used to be. Um, I'm not talking in regards to George. I can, but not until
We'll
unless
get him
he.
one to do that.
In regards to the furry community, but somebody into it and all that. The person I approached was in full gear, and they had like a French maid outfit part of the suit. And I asked, like, she, pardon me, ma'am? I phrased it as a question, like, um, she turned around and was like, I'll go with that. But the person pointed to a pin saying they, them. I'm like, oh, my bad, my apologies. I didn't see the pin. She said, no, that's okay. That's fine. So it was not done out of like, oh, I'm going to, say that you are, he, him out of disrespect.
Right.
And I think we've had this conversation before, long time ago. It's like, if I know you as Tommy for years and years, and then all of a sudden you're now Sarah. Yeah, there's going to be occasionally it's going to be like, hey, Tommy, you want to go grab a drink? It's not because I'm misgendering you. It's just that all those
It's
years,
the best way I can put it
it's
is
habit.
mistakes happen. And as long
Right,
as you're working toward correcting them instead of using it as an excuse for them to happen, then
right.
it's a better process. But when it comes to the whole Christian, I mean, I've already given my theory. I think that with this bail or parole, they're sitting in a group home, and they're with somebody who not only is aware of their mental health issues, but keeping them off the internet, which I think is the best possible outcome.
Hopefully, it's a
Um,
good group home.
what theory do you have, or are you leaning the same way I am? Because
Uh,
it's been
I'm
quiet.
going to lean. I'm going to lean towards the same theory as you in regards to this, because for the most part, I am going to wait until if things come out or if some of the circles that I'm part of cover the whole Christian thing and they report on what the court cases say and given proper update and their trusted sources, like some Muda, maybe even Philip DeFranco a little bit, valid sources, not some troll that's out there. It's like, oh yeah, I heard that he broke out, or something like that, or something like drama alert. I'm not going to go down that route. I'd rather a reliable, confirmed source, not some sort of rumor mill in regards to everything. If you could understand that and get some valid information as to what's going on, I'm not going to make wrong assumptions.
Right. And that's the best way to be. And I honestly think in this case, it's like no news is best news. I'm just fearful that something's going to leak or something's going to get out. And of course, it's going to get ugly again. And I just hope that they don't have access to the internet. I just hope that they don't pick up a cell phone. You know what I mean? Somewhere on
Yeah,
the cheap.
if they do make a comeback, I hope they have somebody that is a partner in their life. If and I don't mean a romantic partner. I
Hmm.
mean someone with more of a 2 plus 2 equals 4 type of, I'm not saying Christian is that stupid, but someone that is more so, dude, don't do that. You're gonna fuck up. That's a road of fuckery. You go down that road, you're gonna fuck around and you're gonna find out.
I
Don't do
just
that.
I
Don't,
just
you
hope,
know,
and my biggest hope from this is one that we never hear anything else about it. It just
yeah,
drops off the earth. And number two, I'm hoping if something does go wrong and they get kicked out of the group home, they don't wind up with a troll who's going to feed off of them or a white knight, as what they call them, that's going to let them run willy nilly. I'm hoping that the group home works out, but if there's a fail safe, they're able
right.
to go with somebody because they've kind of screwed the pooch with their family.
Yeah,
No pun
someone,
intended.
if they get somebody, if the worst case scenario happens, that they are out, they go back online, they have somebody of sound mind to kind of tell them no when no is needed, and they act as a filter to tell Chris Chan, no, this person is fucking with you. Don't buy into it. Don't do it. Don't. Put the camera down, ignore it, don't go that route. Um, and it's one of those things I'd rather filter. Like there's times like I'll filter things through you, filter things through my buddies. Like I don't think this is a good idea, but I have an idea. Or if I encounter somebody that is, like I said before, somebody that's part of the LGBTQIA plus community is like, Sasha, how should I deal with this? I run it through you so I don't fuck up. Or if I'm going to fuck up, it's going to be as minimal as possible. And if they have to have that type of person in their life that is going to be there to kind of mitigate everything, so it's not things don't happen again and again and again and again. So the, yours is the best case scenario. Mine is probably the better of the worst case scenario.
Right. And I'm hoping it's the best case. Sometimes no news is good news. And
Yes.
I'm hoping some of the trolls will get discouraged. I just hope nothing leaks because I know as soon as it leaks, they're gonna try to figure out where that group home is, who that person may be that they're with, and it's just gonna escalate from there. And I just hope that there are some decent white knights out there if something like that were to happen that's going to swoop in and definitely make sure that they're taken care of properly. Like, like Christian's taken care of properly and is on the medication, is continues to be on the right path, regardless of what a malicious troll might decide to do. I'm
And
just
if it's
hoping.
and that it's again, I'm agreeing with you that it's a good group home, that if something like that does happen, they're able to put a stop to it as soon as they can. As soon as they find out, as soon as they can, prior to it getting blown. So far out of control that they're like, you know what, we gotta let Chris go. We gotta let him go. We're either kicking him out or sending him back to jail because we can't handle it here.
Right.
Is
And
that
I'm just like, I kind of want the best case where we hear nothing and the trolls disappear, but the trolls.
trolls?
Yeah. So be nice to each other, everybody, please. And yes, you can prank people, but make sure that those people are in on the joke and are laughing with you and you're not laughing at them. That's the biggest takeaway. And also harm none. I mean, I hate to get Wiccan on you there and be like, do what thou wilt, but in the whole of the law and harm none. But yeah, so anyways, you have been listening to the